Well, look at it. All right, we'll start with a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We can have an invocation, Chaplain Tim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let us pray. Gracious God, it is nice to take a break from the chaos of life and be together around the table. Thank you for the food that will nourish us and give us strength. We thank you for this community that reaches out in so many ways to do your work. Continue to guide not only our hands, but our heart in service to others. Pray all this through your holy name. Amen. Amen.
Back to going with the rest of the meeting. I know that you were looking for more soup, but you only get a cup.
I didn't get a cup.
No, you didn't get a cup?
No.
You didn't get it?
No, I stepped up for a second. No. Give up your seat.
I mean, we'll see if there's any leftovers. Okay.
Whatever.
Did you get a salad?
No. Yeah, I got some.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, it's so some announcements that are coming up. Anybody have any specific? Is there any service scheduled? Service projects? The eyeglass recycling has been successfully. Site has been moved to Rockford Lions Club. They're having it in storage, and they're going to have a facility where we'll be able to go up and work on recycling up there with them. And we're still doing the vision missions. So right now, the next mission is planned for October to Jamaica, and those dates are the 19th of October to the 26th. So if you're thinking about going on a mission, we'd love to have you. So kind of put that dates down, and we also will have a report on last October's mission and also the South America mission. May 4th, we're doing a, has that been in the newsletter yet? The Rise game?
Yes.
So please respond to that if you want to go to see the Rise, which is the women's volleyball league. That's at the Van Andel, which has been very successful. I heard very entertaining, very competitive.
Yes,
So,
they
May
went
4th?
last night. And they-
You were there last night?
I was there last night. It's very, it's kind of like a Whitecaps game. Everything in between sets you have, and the lights, don't miss the beginning, like when they do all the intros. Because they're flashing.
Okay.
They're good. They're so,
Good.
It's gonna be a fun evening.
So that we have Kim Gary's suite where we have some seats in that, and then we'll have extra seats available. So it should be a fun evening. Bring somebody who's not a Lion and see that we have a lot of fun socially, and we'll have a good time. Then May 10th is a Friday night, district conventions in Muskegon at the
LST.
the LST. What's the name of that LST? Had a name. I was thinking the Ironsides, but that's not it.
That's LST.
Silverside, that's it. Yeah,
That's the submarine.
the Silverside is a submarine.
This is just the LST 3.
Okay, it's the LST, it's a landing craft there, and that's only a 4-hour convention, so it's a nice evening, starts at 5, goes to 10. And we'll see if Cheryl gets elected as the new district governor. She only needs 1 vote, so come and vote for her. Any other announcements? The next meeting, we have our student awards, high school awards, for the that we have every year, so that will be in 2 weeks, so make sure you get your RSVP, and we'll have both rooms, we'll have good attendance. And I'm gonna turn it over to Jamie, right when he just got his soup. Tail twister.
Okay. See. We can start with if you got your pen or not. And I just, Rick, are you digging again? I mean, do you? I gotta bring some pens in for you. I mean.
I've got a bunch of them at home.
Okay, anybody else that's not wearing their pin? We're just making money on a rate.
Keep it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll keep raising the rate on you from this point on. And eventually it's gonna get turned in there.
There you go.
Do we have any guests today? Yes, you're a guest, but you have a separate introduction.
Oh, yeah.
Who's one back there as a guest?
Yeah.
Let's introduce your guest, even though he's a re-guest.
He's a big guest, yeah, so this is Josh, he's filling in for Cam.
Nice to meet everyone.
He works for ABBI.
Thank you for ABDI. Again, Josh, tell us again what you do at ABDI.
So I'm the orientation mobility instructor for ABBI. So I teach cane skills and navigational skills.
Wonderful. Then you can help me.
Yeah, I can. Come on now.
Okay, and I have a guest over here, Frank, if you'll stand up. Frank Harley. Yeah, you are. Come on, Frank, stand up. Good friend of mine, we've been running, we started coaching, girls softball 35 years ago. So he got stuck with me and, we've been running together since then, a couple mornings a week for 35 years. So, it's good to have him here. And if you need any shipping, any trucking done, he's the guy. He's still working. He's been at his advanced age. He's old as Rob and he's still working.
Yeah, I'm with T-Force Worldwide. It's a national company, home office is in Canada. And I'm just an account executive with them, but I've been in trucking, like Gary said, my whole life. Started out of college, started driving truck, put myself through college, and then ended up with Holland Motor Express. If you know anything about trucking, USF Holland and Holland out of Holland, Michigan. And I ran terminals for them for about 35 years, and then got into sales. Wanted to retire, so I got in sales. So that's my life story right there. Thanks to Gary for inviting me, and like I said, we do run, and I will thank him when we're running. Probably run a little harder next time we do it.
Yeah.
See if I can hurt him. Yeah.
Do we have any happy bucks from anybody? Anything, going on? Lynn got,
Go ahead, Lynn.
Just returned from, Scottsdale, Arizona for 2 months. A great time. One day we were sitting there, in front, our condo, faces the golf course, and a bunch of lions came walking by.
and he had a beer there.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got happy bucks. I spent the last few days ago, but anyways, we were at my son's house for a week. He had some surgery. They needed help with the twins, so we helped with the twins, and we got very tired. Yeah. 2-year-old twin boys are running crazy. So, anybody else with happy bucks?
Yeah, there's a couple. Sharon and I had a week or 10 days in the UK. We were there for Lions, 2 conventions. The first one was in just north of London, a couple hours, and the other one was in Wales the following weekend. But the one in London, we got to go up and see where my dad served in World War II, the RAF base that they flew the B-24s out of. And there were still 3 runways still on the ground. 2 of the runways had turkey farms built alongside of them. But that was kind of cool to see where he was 80 years ago. And they still very much value our American presence over there. So that's the only thing they ever had to say about World War II and being in England was that he hated marmalade after that, because he had marmalade for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I made sure I had marmalade for every meal, and I kind of liked it. But we met a lot of great Lions over there. They're a whole bunch of friendly people, so.
Okay, guess we're at the raffle then. So, gather this up. So, people, check their tickets. We'll have our guest here,
Well, the first ticket, oh goodness.
First thing that wins $5.
Yes.
Yeah. This one. 624529.
24529. Hey, wow. He gets his $5 back. Okay. And the second one gets to draw for the bigger prize after. And we one more time. And if our speaker today could draw this one.
Yeah, and close my eyes, so nobody can. It's okay, cheating. Okay. 624505.
Oh.
There you go.
No, maybe next.
So,
Now we'll find
Yeah.
out which. Did you put the white one in there?
No, I got the white one here.
Okay.
take it out now.
And some messy, yeah. Some addressing.
So for those that don't know, Section 52 chips, one is white, they have the white one, and then half the pot, right? Just the pot, yeah.
And he decides how much.
Why would you say this? Tell us before you draw that after. I used to. Want to see go in?
Yeah. Well, I would rather.
Sleight of hands.
Nothing I ever do is like. There you go.
Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Oh.
Sorry, Jeff.
Darn.
Here's the white one.
It's still in your hand.
Anything else, Jamie?
No.
Okay, well, thank you. Jeff, thank you for losing.
You're welcome.
And it's great today to have our speaker with us for the third year in a row and a third topic. So that's great. I'm gonna ask Shelley to introduce her.
Hi, Mom. Thank you, President Anderson. Terri Deboer was a Channel 8 meteorologist. Like I say, always was, always will be, but I'm sure you still get asked about the weather, but has moved on to direct communications for Jacobs Financial. So there we go. She's all over town on the billboards. Yes, look for that. An award-winning golfer, an author, and more. And yes, we've been blessed by your presence. I've been blessed by joining her and her family down in St. Pete Clearwater for an annual running festival. So she's a runner too, in her own way. So without further ado, surviving and thriving during life's biggest challenges is the title of today's school. Terri Deboer, take a seat.
Turn on it. Okay, all right. Hello, who's at home watching this? Is it somebody on Zoom? It will be sent out after today.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm so excited to be asked back. Actually, I think I invited myself here this time. I reached out to Shelley in January and said, hey, if you have some holes in your speaker calendar, I'd love to come and just kind of share this next chapter of my life, because I know that for many of us, life is kind of the series of decisions that we make. And some of the decisions lead us into really long times of sameness. And at some point along the way, we always have to be willing and open to make a change. So,
Are you not?
oh, hang on, this is me. Oh. There you go. Should we dim the lights? Maybe a little bit to see the slideshow here. So as a meteorologist, I spent more than 30 years forecasting the weather here in West Michigan. And something that you may not know about me is the fact that I absolutely hate change. Change is something that for me and most of my life, I have tried to avoid. So much so that it became clear to me as I researched, how do you navigate through times of life changes? I understand that it's something that many people have in common, especially when it's time to make the biggest changes in life. So I started my career at Wood TV. Yes, let's talk about changing hairstyles. I don't know why. This was my very first publicity photo at Wood TV. I don't know why. I didn't have a single person mention to me that bangs were just really not going to be a good look. But that was how I started my career at Wood TV. I was a meteorologist. I actually started my career as a television news reporter and an anchor. And then in 1990, April 1st, 1990, I moved to West Michigan to take a job at Channel 3 in Kalamazoo. And I worked there for about 5.5 years. During the time I was at Channel 3, I made the decision to go back to school to become a meteorologist. And so before the internet, I was a student at Mississippi State University via a correspondence program. In fact, Mississippi State University has probably been responsible for training most of the television meteorologists that you see, because many of us started our careers as journalists and then made the choice to make a transition. And so that's where I got my meteorology training. From 1992 to 1995, I was the morning meteorologist at WWMT in Kalamazoo. So in 1995, Channel 8 came to me and said, hey, we're looking at expanding our morning show. Would you be interested in coming aboard? And that's when I made the decision to move from Kalamazoo to Grand Rapids. Along the way, many changes occurred in my professional life. I became the host, the debut host with Rachel Ruiz of the lifestyle show 8 West. And it was kind of interesting how these lifestyle shows at television stations became popular. You see, in 2008, when the financial collapse happened, television stations that were owned by big companies had some serious debt on their books. And it became a very difficult environment for selling traditional forms of advertising. And so the company, our parent company at the time, was on the forefront of designing these lifestyle shows, which were sales-based opportunities for advertisers to have long-form interview segments instead of just traditional 30 or 60-second television commercials. And so 8 West became very successful. Rachel Ruiz and I did that show together. And at one point, Jordan Carson joined in the mix. And then Jordan left about 1.5 years ago to take a full-time job with QVC. And she's also the spokesperson for the for a national campaign. So yeah, it's been a lot of those small changes that happened along the way. I was a working mom. It was probably the easiest for me to see the changes in time that went by watching the life cycle of my own kids. So this is one of the cute little pictures taken. This is Jen, who just actually got married September 1st. Jacob, who is, let's see, Jake, our son, who is 34 now. Our daughter Jacqueline is 31, and Jen now is 26. So this is from Jacqueline's wedding, and then the family continues to grow. I'm blessed that my parents are still alive. Got my husband there by my side. Jake and his wife Taylor live in Seattle now without any kids so far, and I spend a good deal of time in Florida with Jacqueline and Ben and the boys now, Levi and baby Cole. And I tell Jake, if you want me to come to Seattle, you better have a kid. Because until this point in my life, I really didn't have very much vacation time. So yeah, so the family's growing. But how do we know when it's time to make a change? I had worked at Wood TV for nearly 30 years. And at some point, and I know that probably many of you in this room have had to make the decision of when is it time to step away, and how will I step away from that career? I know that for Frank, it was about making a change, right? Getting into sales.
Company went out of business.
A company went out of business. Okay, yeah. So that's the thing. Change will happen. It will either happen to you in a time when you don't pick, or you have to make the decision to at some point leave. So starting when I first spoke to this group, I was already starting to think about how would my broadcast television career end. I'll be 60 this November, and let's face it, we're pretty blessed in the time that we live now that older women still have a place and a voice in television news. It wasn't always the case. In fact, if I would have talked to my 27-year-old self, and told her that I would have this successful career into my late 50s, I don't think she would have ever believed me, because there was a time in our history of our country when older women weren't considered to be valuable in television news. But still, deep down, I felt like I did want to have a next chapter. I kind of scratched that itch by writing a couple of books, which was really a whole lot of fun. I signed up for and went through the John Maxwell Leadership School, and that was an interesting opportunity for me. And I discovered that I needed to ask myself questions. How would I leave television news? Why would I leave television news? And would there be a second career for me? And I received the answers to those questions pretty loud and clear, almost exactly a year ago, when I decided that I was becoming the Bill Murray character in the movie Groundhog Day. Remember that? He gets stuck right on Groundhog Day, the same day over and over again. Because after my kids grew up and left the house and got married and moved on, it became clear to me that life really, at that point, was just becoming a series of the same days, playing himself out. And while there was great comfort in that, I was also falling into a sort of complacency, realizing that at some point, I could be like Frank and have change happen to me. So I started to really open myself up for hearing any clue that a change was going to come my way. And that's when enter Tom Jacobs. For 5 years, the better part of 5 years, every Tuesday morning, I interviewed Tom Jacobs on the 8 West couch. He is a retirement financial planning specialist who, ironically enough, decided to start his company after the collapse of the 2008 market, because that's when his parents had just decided to retire. And so as I learned that when we take a look at the stock market and we take a look at the history of finances in this country, there are very big similarities to forecasting the weather. Because just like the weather, we know that there will be storms. We know that we can't time these storms, nor can we control them. But what we can do is we can prepare and plan for them. And that was the mission that Tom Jacobs shared with me and our 8 West viewers every week for almost 5 years. And so at the point when he said, I'm growing, I'm expanding, 10,000 Americans every day are retiring in the United States. Many have not saved enough for retirement, and those who have saved are not planning always correctly. Because let's face it, when we sign up for our company 401k, nobody is there to walk us through how we're going to be taking the proceeds from that toward the end of our working career and structuring our finances in a way that will take us all the way to the finish line. So Tom offered me this wonderful opportunity, and I decided that it seemed like a really good mission to go on. And so as I retired from television news and weather at the end of September last year, I joined the team at Jacobs Financial. And so instead of having the same day over and over and over again, instead of having a feeling of complacency, I had this exciting new industry that I was joining. And people ask me all the time, what was the hardest thing about, what has been the hardest thing? And I do miss some of the people that I used to work with, because you do become like a family with the people that you work with. But the thing that I missed the most, really, was being the person who had all the answers. Because in my old career, I had been in television from the late 80s, made the transition from news into weather in the early 90s, changed stations only one time after that, and spent the better part of 35 years raising kids and having a great career. But I knew that I was becoming complacent. And so that's where change comes in. So how do we handle times of change? Well, for me, the newest, biggest thing I needed to do was change my habits. Because in my old life, I got up at 2:30, 2:45 every morning. And went to the television station, came up with the weather forecast, designed the graphics, did the radio. Was on TV for the better part of 5 hours doing the weather every morning. And then made the transition to 8 West host. And so I had to make a whole new set of habits for myself. And so we know that in order to have new habits, we have to develop a cue for those habits. And so my first new habit became getting up in the morning, not at 2:30 or 2:45, getting up at 5:15 to go to a hot yoga class at 5:45. Because in my new life, I knew that I needed to start taking control and prioritizing my physical fitness. Because again, as we get into our later 50s, 60s, we know that the shape that I'm in today, unless I do something about it, is going to be the best shape that I'll be in for the rest of my life. And if I don't do something positive about it, then I'm going to be in worse shape tomorrow and a little worse shape the day after that, until we get all the way to the end. So having a new habit loop for me was really important. My routine is now to get up at 5:15. My reward is that I have more energy, and by going to hot yoga, a little more flexibility and a little better balance. I'll tell you this, I've hit a milestone in my life. I can now stand up and put on my underwear without having to touch the wall. So that is a huge, that's a really huge advancement for me, because standing on one foot and balancing is a big part of what you do at hot yoga. So that's a new milestone. So that's my reward now. I don't have to sit down to put my tweets on anymore. But coming up with new habits, I also, when you take a look at the habits you have in your life, our friendships become very habitual. When my kids were growing up, they never met a sport they didn't like. And so I spent the better part of 3 decades while my kids were growing up, having this evolution of friend groups. Because you see, every season, you guys as softball coaches, you know this, at the end of every season, you get to join a new team with your kids, and your friends become those parents that also have kids on your same kids' team. And you have 2 things in common. You have kids that enjoy obviously the same sport, and you also have people on the other side that you're always rooting against. So you have common enemies and common interests, which is always a good recipe for making friendships, right? But the problem is that this season in our life, we don't have those changes that happen. And so if we aren't careful, we can fall into the habit of just hanging around with the same people who may or may not have as much in common with us, and who may or may not have the same interests as we have. And so that habit cycle also includes evaluating your friendships. I think that for those of you in this room that are retired, it's pretty easy sometimes to fall into the habit of taking a look more in that rearview mirror, looking at what's behind you rather than what's in front of you. I'll tell you, when I look at a picture like this and I look in the rearview mirror, I know that I have more birthdays behind me than in front of me. And so it's really important that we spend our time looking at the possibilities of the future. There's this is my favorite app on my iPhone. Anybody have the Time Hop app? Okay, Time Hop is really cool because what it does is you enter the passcodes for all of your other social media accounts, and it will bring you every day a collection of pictures that were from that same day, but in years past. So you can see what you did a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The problem, though, with taking a look at that and thinking, oh man, those were the best days, is the fact that we only take pictures of things that are highlights. We don't take pictures of things that are meaningless. And so we can fall into the trap of comparing every day the highlight reel to what is the reality. I mean, you take a look at a baseball game, you know, Tigers are hopefully going to be good this year, right? But you take a look at a 9-inning baseball game that may go on for I know they've changed the time because the pitcher rule has changed, it can't take as much time, whatever. But 3-4 hours, what, a baseball game? And you may have a batter who gets up during that game 3, 4, 5 times during a game and may strike out, may walk, may get one hit. That one hit, if it's the game-winning hit, is going to be on the news over and over again, over and over again. That's the highlight reel. That's what time hop is in our life. Because we don't count all those times that we didn't have much to do. But there's the temptation to think that we always had great experiences every day in the rearview mirror. I also think it's important to, when we think about looking ahead, is to not look too far ahead. This group here, obviously, so most people get mixed up when they think of what farsighted is and nearsighted, right? But most people think that if you're farsighted, that means you can see things that are,
You can see things far.
you see things that are far, and if you're nearsighted, you can see things that are close, yeah. And so if you're nearsighted, you can't see things that are far away. And so that's why I think this is really important, because we, in this season of our life, shouldn't always look at things that are too far in the future, because that's where we end up borrowing trouble, worrying about those things that are 10, 20 years from now. That's why it's important to keep our focus on what's close up. And in this season, I also focus on gratitude. I think when we take a look at all of those blessings we have, the things that we wouldn't maybe have had if we had clung to the past, then it becomes very easy to find hope and find peace and comfort in making those changes in our life. For me, what comes to mind when I think of this big change that I've just made, number one, a new challenge for me, mentally, professionally. I am very grateful for more opportunities to spend time on my own physical health, more time to spend with friends, going on running adventures with my friend Shelly, who encourages me and inspires me to do things I think I otherwise thought I couldn't do. Spend more time with grandkids and adult kids, and just spend more time enjoying life, because we don't have any promise of how much time we have left in this season. And I always remember too that everything is temporary. Whether you're having a really great day, you're having the worst day of your life, that all of those feelings are temporary. And so I think that when it comes to change, we have to understand that being complacent really is the enemy of being fulfilled. By creating new habits, looking at what's ahead, but not too far ahead, being thankful for every day and every new opportunity, and then understanding that everything, I mean everything, is temporary. That's how we spend time and we adjust to great times of change. And I love this quote by Brian Tracy: every positive change in your life begins with a clear, unequivocal decision that you are either going to do something or stop doing something. And that's how we get to the point where we find that change not only is not our enemy, but is an essential part of having a fulfilled life. Any questions?
Names your books.
Names of my books. So the first book, Brighter Skies Ahead, Forecasting a Full Life When You Empty the Nest. See, when I wrote that book, I thought that the empty nest season was the final season of life. But what I really realized was that in life, we have periods of transition that typically last about a year. And so when I wrote Brighter Skies Ahead, Forecasting a Full Life When You Empty the Nest, I really thought that our life cycle was the growing up years, the young adult years, the kind of juggling act years where you have all those activities for decades for all of our kids. Cheryl's shaking her head, yes.
Bleacher butt.
And then the kids move out, they start their own families, and that becomes the empty nest season. But what I really realize now is the empty nest is only a transition. into what is really the next season, and that's the encore season. And that's the season of life that those of us in this room are all in. So I wrote a book recently released called Encore Season, Making the Best of Your Life, the Rest of Your Life, the Best of Your Life. As I was here, I think the last time with my good friend Janet Jamin from Faith Hospice, we talked about the grieving process, and we co-wrote the book Grieving Well with Janet about the grieving process. And that book has been a really great blessing for, I think, a lot of people. Janet has just a terrific way to help counsel people through these, again, milestones in our life that have tremendous grief associated with them. You know, we talk about grief, and it's interesting the parallels that go from, you know, the grieving process of grieving the time when your kids were at home and growing up, go through a grieving process when you're going through that empty nest transition. When we lose a pet, or maybe we lose a career, or we just simply make the decision to have a change, we know that there are aspects of grief that go along with every big change in life. And understanding that and naming that is really important. So I'm working on a new book with my new boss. It's actually at the design team, the design stage now. So we'll be having hopefully the cover design to release very, very soon. But that's called Fearless Retirement, minimizing risk to maximize your retirement income. Because we know that the number one fear of people in our season of life is not dying, it's running out of money. And so that's where we come into play. That's the next book. I do have another one that I'm just kind of started working on, just because I'll turn 60 this year. And the working title of that one is Life Begins at 60. I think if I say it enough, I can convince myself enough of that. But yeah.
Can I have you go back a screen, the change screen? I like that. I didn't realize all the first letters with the word change. Yeah. That was a nice surprise. I want to go get it. Like this. Put us in your headlines. That's it.
That'll go away.
It's good. Thanks.
Terry, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And, you know, a lot of what you spoke. What you spoke about with this change is one of the reasons why we're all Lions and why we're here, because we're all from different backgrounds and we're all kind of in that. Many of us are in that phase. The Usman back there is not quite there yet. And, but some of our other members aren't either, but many of us are in that, and where Lions gives us that opportunity to do different things and to be effective and to have a purpose. And also to have the social and the friendships.
Right, exactly.
That you need in the interaction. So, you know, maybe someday you're gonna say, hey, I gotta be involved with that Lions.
Well, you probably won't find this too hard to believe, but when I announced my retirement from Wood TV, I had a bunch of opportunities to join new boards and join new organizations. Yes, I've been on the Grand Rapids Griffins Youth Foundation Board of Directors for probably 25 years. I think I joined the year after the Griffins started. I think that was 25 years ago. I became one of the first board members. So I've been on that for a long time. And the Mental Health Foundation of West Michigan, the Be Nice initiative that you see everywhere. I've been on the MHF board for a long time too. With Christy Buck, yeah.
With Christy, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So, yeah, so it's good. And we just have, I've just become one of the West Michigan speakers for the Council of Financial Educators, where they're retirement focused topics. So twice a week, I'll be doing 2-hour seminars all about Social Security. Did you know there's 2 hours worth of information about Social Security? There is a lot of information about Social Security. So, yeah.
As long as it comes into my bank account once a month.
Once a month, yes, exactly. There you go, yeah.
So we have another mug if you would like one to add to your growing
My
collection.
growing
But
collection.
even more important, here's a little first aid kit that you can take for running.
Thank
when
you.
go on
When I
your
go,
excursions.
are there Band-Aids in here?
Yes.
Band-Aids,
Very good.
wipes and everything. So you can think of us when you're getting some first aid from those blisters. So
Yes, exactly. So thank you.
thank you again for being back, and we look forward to what you bring us next year.
You will, maybe I'll have another book.
There we go.
I think if you have any input about how life is beginning for all of you at 60, let me know.
Some of us have to remember.
That's becoming a
Like-
problem too.
Like Lynn, right? So, thank you again, and, any other questions? 2 weeks from today, we have the students here, so let's have a good showing for them. And, please respond to the emails. You got some that'll be coming out from Cheryl, more information and voting and different things like that. So, we're adjourned. Get home safe. Thank you.